What if I told you that a single whisper could change your life forever? A whisper so profound that it pulls you back from the brink of despair and sets you on a path you never imagined. Some might dismiss it as a figment of imagination, a mere coincidence. But what if it's something more? In this story, we'll uncover the extraordinary journey of someone who, in their darkest moment, encountered a whisper, a divine voice that saved them. Was it a guardian angel? A supernatural force? Or simply their subconscious trying to reach out? Have you ever felt an unseen force guiding you in a moment of crisis? Perhaps it was a subtle nudge, a gut feeling, or a calming presence that kept you from harm. This story will resonate with those moments and remind you that sometimes we are not as alone as we think. Our protagonist, Michael, is a 42-year-old man living a fast-paced life, juggling a demanding career, family responsibilities, and personal ambitions. He never considered himself spiritual, nor did he believe in angels or divine intervention. Yet, one fateful day, a whisper changed everything, revealing a secret that would redefine his entire existence. Let's delve into his story, beginning with the life he lived before that transformative moment. The life where warning signs were ignored and the weight of the world seemed unbearable. Michael wasn't the type to slow down. At 42, he was at the peak of his career as a corporate executive in a major tech firm. His days were a blur of meetings, emails, and high-stakes decisions. His nights weren't much different. He often found himself working late into the evening, fueled by coffee and the pressure to outperform. His relentless pursuit of success left little room for anything else. Stress? Burnout? Those words were thrown around in his circles, but Michael wore his workload like a badge of honor. He believed he was invincible. His colleagues admired his dedication. His family, however, worried. His wife, Sarah, often urged him to slow down. "You're not a machine, Michael. You need to take care of yourself," she'd say. He'd always brush it off with a reassuring smile. "I'm fine, just a little tired." But Michael wasn't fine. His body was sending signals, small, subtle signs that something wasn't right. He'd wake up with a slight tightness in his chest, blaming it on a poor night's sleep. His energy was waning, yet he attributed it to stress. He often felt dizzy after standing up too quickly, but dismissed it as dehydration. His mind was too preoccupied with work deadlines and the constant pressure to achieve more. One evening, as Michael left his office late, he felt a sudden chill despite the warm air. It was subtle, but he noticed it. Walking through the empty parking lot, he heard a faint whisper. He stopped, looking around, but there was no one. "You need to slow down." It was soft, almost inaudible. He shook his head, blaming exhaustion. This was just the beginning. Over the next few days, Michael couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. That whisper echoed in his mind, but he ignored it, brushing it off as fatigue. His body, however, was less forgiving. The tightness in his chest became more frequent, his fatigue deeper. Yet, he pushed on, convinced it was temporary. Little did Michael know, this whisper was a warning, a sign from beyond. But he wasn't ready to listen, at least not yet. It was a typical Tuesday morning when Michael's day took a turn that no amount of preparation could have anticipated. He woke up feeling slightly off, a dull ache in his chest that he attributed to poor sleep. Just another busy day, he thought, shrugging off Sarah's concerned gaze as she handed him his coffee. "Maybe you should take the day off," she suggested gently. Michael chuckled, brushing a kiss on her forehead. "I'll be fine. Big presentation today. Can't miss it." He left the house with his usual determination, ignoring the gnawing sensation in his chest. By midday, the warning signs became impossible to ignore. The tightness in his chest was no longer a dull ache, but a searing pain radiating down his left arm. He gripped the edge of the conference table as the room spun around him, beads of sweat forming on his brow. His colleagues noticed. "You okay, Michael?" one of them asked. "Just need some air," he muttered, forcing a smile as he excused himself. In the hallway, the dizziness intensified. His vision blurred, and the walls seemed to close in. Each breath felt heavier, labored. Panic set in, a deep, primal fear he had never known. His mind raced. Is this a heart attack? He stumbled towards the elevator, each step a monumental effort. His heart pounded violently, a drumbeat of terror reverberating through his chest. The world around him faded into a blur of indistinct shapes and muffled sounds. His hands trembled, clutching at his shirt as he gasped for air. Then, the collapse. Michael fell to the cold, unforgiving floor of the empty corridor. His body refused to move, paralyzed by pain and fear. He lay there, his mind flooded with thoughts of Sarah, their children, unfinished projects, and unspoken words. A sinking realization gripped him. This is it. I'm going to die here, alone. Tears welled up in his eyes as he surrendered to the darkness. His breathing slowed, each breath more shallow than the last. His rational mind, once sharp and calculating, was now overtaken by sheer helplessness. But then, something shifted. Amid the deafening silence, a soft whisper cut through his despair. It wasn't a sound he could place. It wasn't coming from outside. It resonated within him, a gentle yet firm voice that seemed to embrace his very soul. You are not alone. Stay calm. The words wrapped around him like a warm blanket, and for the first time in what felt like an eternity, the panic eased. His heart, though still strained, slowed its frantic pace. A sense of peace, almost surreal, settled over him. He felt a presence, something unseen but profoundly real. It was as if invisible arms were cradling him, lifting the weight of fear from his chest. He wasn't sure if he was hallucinating, or if this was the brink of death. Yet, he found himself responding. Who's there? He thought, his mind too weak to form words aloud. No answer came, but the presence grew stronger. The tightness in his chest remained, yet it no longer consumed him. There was comfort, a reassurance that transcended logic. Michael's rational mind rebelled. This can't be real. It's just my brain shutting down, a trick of the mind. But his heart, battered and vulnerable, began to entertain another possibility. What if this is real? What if there's more to life than I've ever believed? The whisper returned, soothing and persistent. Breathe. Help is near. Despite his skepticism, Michael obeyed. He focused on his breathing, each shallow inhale a small victory. His heartbeat, though still erratic, seemed less chaotic. His mind, previously spiraling in fear, now clung to the whisper, that comforting presence. In that moment of vulnerability, a shift occurred within him. He let go of his need for control, for logical explanations. He surrendered to the experience, allowing himself to believe in something beyond his understanding. Tears streamed down his face as he lay on the floor, embracing the paradox of his situation. A man of reason, cradled by faith in an unseen force. His pain was still there, but so was hope. As footsteps echoed down the hallway, growing louder with each second, Michael whispered into the void, "Thank you." Just as his vision darkened, he saw the faint outline of someone rushing towards him. The pain surged one final time before his consciousness faded. Darkness enveloped Michael's senses. The pain, once sharp and overwhelming, became a distant hum. He drifted in a void where time and space felt irrelevant. There was no floor beneath him, no weight on his chest, no blaring alarms of mortality. Instead, there was stillness, a calm he had never known. He didn't resist. His rational mind, so stubborn in its denial, finally relinquished control. The struggle to understand, to survive, dissolved. In its place emerged an unexpected peace. Is this death? He wondered, but there was no fear in the question. He simply existed, floating in this serene expanse. Then, from within the vast darkness, a soft glow emerged. At first, it was faint, like a flickering candlelight in the distance. But as he focused on it, the glow intensified, radiating warmth and comfort. It wasn't blinding or harsh. It was gentle, enveloping him in a tender embrace. Michael's breath hitched, or at least it felt like it did. He wasn't sure if he was breathing anymore, but something stirred within him, a familiar yet indescribable sensation. The glow drew closer, forming into a radiant figure. The figure wasn't human, not in the traditional sense. It transcended form, an embodiment of light and presence. Yet, Michael knew instinctively what it was, an angel. He gazed at the being in awe, his heart, no longer pounding with panic, now filled with wonder. The angel didn't speak in words, yet its voice resonated within him, clear and profound. You have been heard. You have been seen. And now you must listen. The voice was not commanding but loving. Every syllable reverberated through his soul, carrying both weight and lightness. Michael's tears, which he hadn't realized were still falling, mingled with a newfound sense of clarity. He tried to speak, but no sound came. His thoughts, however, were loud and clear. Why me? Why now? The angel's glow intensified slightly, as though smiling without a face. Because you were lost. Because you needed to remember. Michael's mind raced. Remember what? Your purpose, the angel whispered. You've wandered far from what truly matters. Consumed by fear, ambition, and the need for control, you forgot who you are. But it's not too late. The angel's words, though simple, pierced through Michael's core. He hadn't realized how much he had drifted from the things that once brought him joy. His family, his passions, the quiet moments that once defined his life. He had become a machine, operating on autopilot, driven by deadlines and expectations. As if sensing his thoughts, the angel continued. Your life was never meant to be a race to the end. It's a journey of meaning, of connection. You have forgotten to breathe, to feel, to live. Michael felt a weight lift from his chest. Not the physical pain, but the emotional burden he hadn't realized he was carrying. He had spent so many years convincing himself that his worth was tied to his success, that his value was measured by achievements. A flood of memories rushed through him. The laughter of his children, the warmth of Sarah's embrace, the simple joy of watching a sunset. He saw them all with new eyes, as if experiencing them for the first time. You've been given this moment, the angel said, to remember what truly matters. You have the power to change. You have the power to heal, not just your body, but your soul. Michael felt a surge of emotion, a mix of gratitude and sorrow. He didn't want to let go of this presence, this clarity. What if I forget again? He thought, fear creeping in. The angel's light pulsed softly. You won't, because this moment will stay with you. Every time you breathe, every time you open your heart, you'll remember. And when you share this light with others, it will grow. A warmth spread through Michael's entire being, soothing the remnants of pain. The angel's presence was a balm to his soul, not just healing but transforming. He felt lighter, freer, as if years of stress and guilt were melting away. What should I do? He asked in his mind, no longer questioning the reality of this experience but embracing it fully. Live, the angel whispered, but live with purpose, love without fear, and trust that you are never alone. The glow began to fade, but the warmth remained. Michael wanted to reach out, to hold on to the presence, but he understood now. It wasn't leaving. It was becoming a part of him. As the light dimmed, the angel whispered one final secret, a profound truth that Michael knew would change everything. You are the light you seek. The words echoed in his heart as the peaceful darkness returned. But this time, it wasn't emptiness. It was fullness. Michael felt his consciousness pulling back, tethering him to the physical world. He wasn't afraid. He was ready. Michael's awareness shifted back to his body slowly, like waking from a deep, peaceful sleep. The pain that once gripped his chest was now a distant memory, replaced by a sense of lightness and serenity. He opened his eyes, the harsh fluorescent lights of the hospital room coming into focus. But instead of fear or confusion, there was a profound calm within him. The sound of monitors beeping softly filled the room. Nurses and doctors surrounded him, their expressions a mixture of astonishment and relief. His body, once burdened with unbearable pain, felt remarkably different. He wasn't just alive, he felt reborn. A nurse leaned over, her voice gentle but incredulous. Mr. Carter, can you hear me? You've had a heart attack, but your vitals are stabilizing remarkably fast. Michael nodded weakly. His throat was dry, but he managed to whisper, Yes, I hear you. The attending doctor exchanged glances with the medical team. It's extraordinary, he murmured. Given the severity of the heart attack, we expected a much longer recovery, if recovery at all. But It's as if his body is healing itself. Michael absorbed their words, but felt detached from their scientific explanations. He knew something far greater had occurred, a miracle beyond medicine. His thoughts drifted back to the angel, the radiant light, and the whispered truths. As the staff adjusted his monitors and checked his he closed his eyes, feeling a presence still lingering within him. It wasn't a dream, nor was it hallucination. The angelic encounter was real, and the peace it brought remained imprinted on his soul. A clear, calm voice resonated within him once more. You have been given a second chance. Use it wisely. Live with purpose, love deeply, and trust the path laid before you. Tears welled in his eyes, not from fear or pain, but from gratitude. He had survived something that should have ended his life, and yet, here he was, feeling stronger with each passing moment. The door to his room opened, and Sarah rushed in, her face pale with worry. "Michael!" she gasped, tears streaming down her cheeks. She grabbed his hand, squeezing it tightly. I thought I'd lost you." Michael squeezed her hand back, his grip steady. "I'm here," he said softly, "and I'm not going anywhere." Her eyes searched his, noticing something different. "You seem calm, peaceful. After everything, how?" He hesitated, unsure how to put the experience into words. "I had a moment of clarity," he finally said. "A presence, an angel. It told me things, Sarah. Things about my life, about what I've been missing." Sarah blinked, her expression shifting from disbelief to curiosity. "An angel," she whispered. Michael nodded. "I know how it sounds, but it's true. I felt it. I heard it. And it saved me." Tears filled her eyes again, but this time, they were tears of relief. "Maybe it's a miracle," she said, her voice trembling. "It is," he replied, his voice steady. "And it's not just about surviving. It's about living differently." The doctors returned with more tests, their amazement evident in their cautious optimism. Despite the severity of his heart attack, his body showed signs of rapid healing. "It's as if your heart is recovering faster than we've ever seen," one doctor said, shaking his head. "There's no medical explanation." Michael exchanged a glance with Sarah, a knowing smile forming on his lips. He didn't need a scientific explanation. He understood that what had happened went beyond medicine. As the days passed, his recovery defied all expectations. Physical therapy sessions were shorter, and his energy levels surged. The medical team remained baffled, but Michael was no longer focused on their astonishment. His heart, both physically and spiritually, had transformed. During quiet moments in his room, he reflected on the angel's words, "You are the light you seek." It echoed in his mind, pushing him to reevaluate his priorities. He realized how much he had taken for granted. His health, his family, even the simple joys of life. Sarah sat beside him one evening, their hands intertwined. "What do you think it all means?" she asked. Michael took a deep breath, feeling the strength within him. "It means I've been given a second chance, and I'm not going to waste it. I need to live with intention, love without fear, and trust that there's a greater purpose guiding me." Sarah smiled, her eyes shining with hope. "Then let's do it together." In that moment, Michael knew his life had changed forever. It wasn't just about recovering from a heart attack. It was about embracing a spiritual awakening, a journey that began with an angel's whisper and would guide him for the rest of his days. As Michael sat by his bedroom window, watching the golden hues of the sunrise spill across the sky, he felt an overwhelming sense of calm. The world around him seemed quieter, more alive. The rustling leaves, chirping birds, and gentle breeze carried a new significance. Every sound and sight reminded him of that life-altering moment when an angel whispered a secret that reshaped his existence. He ran his hand across his chest, feeling the steady, strong beat of his heart. Just weeks ago, he had doubted he would ever hear that rhythm again. Now, each beat felt like a gift. Reflecting on the angel's intervention, he realized how blind he had been to the warnings his body gave him. Yet, even in his ignorance, he had been guided, protected, and ultimately saved. The angel's words echoed in his mind. "You are not alone. You never have been." This newfound awareness filled him with immense gratitude. He wasn't merely lucky to have survived. He was blessed. There was no denying the divine presence that had intervened, offering him clarity and a second chance at life. For the first time in years, he allowed himself to feel vulnerable, not as a weakness, but as a strength. His heart swelled with appreciation for his family, his health, and even the simple beauty of the present moment. "Thank you," he whispered, directing his words toward the unseen force that had saved him. It wasn't just a thank you for his life, but for the awakening that had come with it. Michael found himself drawn to spirituality in ways he never expected. He began each day with quiet meditation, focusing on his breath and the peaceful energy around him. Prayer, once a rare practice, became a daily ritual, not out of obligation, but out of a sincere connection to something greater than himself. His relationships also transformed. He no longer took Sarah's love for granted. They spent more time together, appreciating the small moments, long walks, shared meals, and heartfelt conversations. With each passing day, their bond deepened, strengthened by the shared miracle of his recovery. Professionally, Michael stepped back from the relentless grind. He reorganized his priorities, choosing balance over burnout. He took time to nurture his health, incorporating rest, exercise, and mindfulness into his routine. This slower pace didn't hinder his success. Instead, it sharpened his focus, making him more effective and present. But the most significant change came in his desire to share his story. At first, he hesitated. The experience was so personal, so sacred. How could he possibly put it into words? Yet, the whisper from the angel lingered. "Share your light with others." Driven by this calling, Michael began speaking openly about his journey. He recounted the heart attack, the angel's presence, and the whispered secret that saved him. To his surprise, people listened. They were captivated, not just by the miraculous recovery, but by the hope his story ignited. Church groups, community gatherings, and even colleagues invited him to share his experience. Each time, he saw the same reaction, a mixture of awe, comfort, and renewed faith. His story became a beacon of hope for those struggling with their own battles. Michael's message was simple: we are never alone. In our darkest moments, help can come in ways we least expect. Stay open to the signs, listen to the whispers, and trust that divine forces are always working in our favor. He understood that some would be skeptical, dismissing his experience as imagination or coincidence. But he didn't need validation. His faith was unshakable. He had lived through a miracle, and that was enough. As you read Michael's story, consider your own life. Have you ever felt an unseen force guiding you? Perhaps in moments of despair, a sudden sense of calm washed over you. Or maybe you've encountered situations where events align too perfectly to be mere chance. Michael's journey reminds us that divine intervention often comes in mysterious forms: an unexpected kindness, a calming presence, or even a whisper in the wind. These experiences, though subtle, are profound reminders that we are never truly alone. So, take a moment to reflect. What secrets might angels be whispering to you? Perhaps their guidance is already present, waiting for you to listen. Stay open, stay aware, and embrace the possibility that something greater is always watching over you. Your journey is unfolding, and somewhere, an angel may already be whispering a secret that could change your life forever. Listen closely.